Hi everybody, welcome to this Verbling class. My name's Amy and today's class is part of my Best of British Culture series. So this is a class all about something to do with Britain, Great Britain, British English, something related to that, so that those of you who are interested in perhaps going to the UK or just finding out a little bit more about it can learn something as well as practicing your English. So today we're going to be talking about the recent Scottish referendum, which is kind of a big deal for the UK. It happened last week. The Scots voted as to whether they wished to leave the United Kingdom and become independent. And it wasn't clear what was going to happen right up until the moment, but in the end they did decide to stay with the UK. So we're going to be talking about that today. Kind of what happened, what it was all about, but also if anything similar has happened or is happening or could happen in your own country. So do you have similar problems? Are your countries made up of different races or different groups of nationalities or people that wish to be independent? It's interesting to talk about this, so do come along and join us. It will be a speaking class mostly with a little bit of reading, and I'm sure it'll be interesting for all of us, so do come on in. While we're waiting for everybody to get here, I'm just going to let you know that there are 2 pages that you can check out which you can use to help you here on Verbling. The first one you'll see in the chat box there is my Facebook page, and if you follow the teachers on Facebook, you'll see that they post updates and sometimes they post resources, useful videos that they find during the week, information about their classes. Sometimes after a really great class, I post something from that class so you can see or share what we've done together that day. The other page that I would like to paste into the chat box for you is the Verbling teacher page. That's my Verbling teacher page there, but all the teachers have one. So if you do want to find out a little bit more about any of the teachers, the best place to go is to their Verbling teacher pages, which is just the same, but the different teacher's name on the end. So as long as you know the name, you can type in the address. You'll find lots of useful stuff there. So if you've attended one of the teachers' classes and you'd like to go again, then you'll see their upcoming class schedule. You'll also see their private tutoring slots. So if private tutoring is something that interests you, then you can go ahead, check out the teacher's page and book a slot which is convenient for you. And if you do have any questions about anything, then please do get in touch with us. You'll find the messaging feature there also on the teacher pages if you need to write us a message. Okay, so let's have a look. Say hi to our students. Who's here to talk about the Scottish referendum with us today? Let's say hi to Amari.
Yes, teacher. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, Amari. And how is Mexico?
Oh, that's great here. Yes, I have a day awesome because I have a lot of meetings and it's a good meetings.
Okay.
And I have had to learn about my activities, about my coworkers, something like that.
All right. So work has been going well.
Yes.
Glad to hear it. I'm very glad to hear it. And how is the weather over there, Amari? You know, my sister's actually just been on holiday to Mexico. I can't remember exactly where she went, but she said it was great.
The weather in Guadalajara, it's very hot in my opinion. I like so much because it's very similar my city in Brazil, so I love that weather.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And I know that Mexico had was it a hurricane or a tornado? A lot of wind.
Oh yes, but in the north of Mexico, in the coast or something like that. I am very far away from there.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that, Amari. So you didn't get disrupted by it.
Thank you.
All right, welcome to the class.
Thank you.
Hello, Greg. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Excellent. I'm very well, thank you, Greg. And how is your everything going? Studying, looking for a job. Any progress?
Well, in progress about jobs, nothing happened. In studying, I start, today I was watching the movie, so I have a chance to meet some new vocabulary. And yesterday I was watching about the linking, it was more confusing than usually, so.
You're reading about linking, did you say?
Yes, so this kind of rules when D is close to D at the end and another D is at the beginning.
Okay, linking your words together. I thought you meant something to do with the internet for a moment there. You mean language linking? Okay. Yeah, that's quite complicated, but as you mentioned yesterday, yeah, once you've read about it, what I would do is just don't worry. Read about it because it does help your brain to kind of recognize what it's talking about. But then just listen out for native speakers, and that's the best way.
I just listen and what I'm thinking at the 2 years ago, 1 year ago, or maybe a couple of months ago about linking, and what I hear how it exactly should be sound, it is completely different.
Yeah, that's probably true. I can understand that being a bit tricky. It's one of those things I think that takes a little bit of time, Greg. So once you become aware of it, then give yourself a little while to get used to it, and then it will happen naturally.
Yeah, for example, yesterday it was like clean up everything, and the advice was clean up everything.
Yeah, exactly right. Clean up everything. It's just because we're lazy, basically. We can't be bothered to take pauses in between our words.
Yeah.
All right. And do you do that in Polish, just out of interest?
I'm sorry?
When you're speaking Polish, do you do the same thing? Connect all your words together?
Well, I didn't. I think there's some, connection now because I'm native speaker, so I don't really have to really do much thinking about this. But I noticed that there's some, intonation things, the way how we speak. We don't speak in the same way all the time, so there are probably some lazy practice.
All right, great work. Thank you, Greg. Welcome to the class. Felipe, how are you doing today? Are you there?
Hello, teacher.
Hi.
I'm fine. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm very well, Felipe. And how is Spain? What's the weather like over there at the moment? In Malaga, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay.
Is it still sunny and warm?
Oh, today it was sunny, yeah? Sunny, but in the evening the weather was changing because probably it was cloudy. Yeah, cloudy.
Okay. So it's getting on for the end of September, so it's sort of like coming into autumn really for you now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really different. But right now in Malaga, it's I was living in Bristol for 2 months. The same weather right now in Malaga is the same weather in summer in Bristol.
Yeah, that sounds about right, Felipe.
Yeah, probably it is normally 24 degrees.
Yeah, that sounds about right. The summer in Bristol, yeah, Bristol's not a bad place for weather. There are worse places in England or in the UK, but yeah, it sounds about right. The Spanish autumn is probably similar to the British summer.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
All right, well, welcome to the class, Felipe. It's going to be good to have you today because I think what we're going to be talking about has quite a lot of relevance for Spain. And I'll say hello also to Rafael. Hello.
Hello, Amy.
Wow, you're quiet today, Rafael.
Really?
Yeah. Your microphone up. Huh?
It's better now?
Yeah, that's better. Maybe you were sitting a long way away from your computer.
No, because I'm using another computer today, so...
Okay. Fair enough. That's probably why. Well, how are you doing?
I'm okay. Thanks for asking. You?
Yeah, so it's been a good day for you?
Just a normal day. Nothing special. Just basic.
Just everything regular.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome everybody, and we're going to get started talking about our topic for today. So before we get started, I mean, a lot of my students were asking me about this last week and, well, in the weeks upcoming to the referendum. So I figured it was probably a chance where we could actually have a class about it and discuss it in a bit more detail. So before we get started on, I've got a bit of something we can read, but we're mainly going to be doing speaking today. So the first question I just want to ask you really is, what do you know about what's happened in the UK in the last week with Scotland, England, politics? What do you guys know already? Does anyone want to start off by introducing their opinion or just some facts that they know? Nobody. You know I'm going to pick on one of you if nobody volunteers. Oh, okay, it's going to be Greg, because Greg, you're living over there. All I want to know is, tell me, what was your experience of this whole event? Was it driving you crazy? Was it on the news all the time?
No, that didn't drive me crazy because you're asking me about the whole referendum thing.
Yeah.
Well, that depends. There are some opinions, and ideal world we have this opinion. Everyone thinks that every nation has own country, but when I look at Scotland and the referendum, and there was this National Scotland Party or something similar, the name was actually confusing at the beginning because left-wing party.
Yep.
In Poland, actually, if you have national party, that means that you are not a left-wing. It means that you are Catholic, and every nationalist is usually Catholic in the first place.
Okay.
So this is a completely different point of view. And of course, our independence has had something to do before World War II with this kind of thinking. So, I don't know. When I look at the citizen who made this decision in the referendum, I notice they worry about political problems, about if they want to be member of the European Union, NATO, if they want to be part of this union currency between England and Scotland, and this kind of thing. And I don't know, the country who was a part of the UK have been part of the UK for about 300 years. It wasn't really surprising that they made this decision because I think the issue wasn't such serious. That was not the fight about to survive in this territory. They have peace, they have freedom of speech, and many these things that every democratic country they can get. So they have, and to be brutally true, it was more about to be independent. We have maybe we'll run out of the money, or we'll stay in the UK, and it will be safe. So there were some issues about, for example, Polish immigrants and from other countries in Scotland. But and one of the things that we're thinking, because we're always thinking what will happen when new countries show up on the map of the Europe, what they actually want to do, and if what they're planning with Poland and what Poland will be planning with them. So nothing will happen. So Scotland remain at the part of Great Britain. If actually the situation will be different, there will be upcoming hegemony of Germany in the European Union. So that's dangerous for many countries.
All right. That's
many issues.
Sorry?
So there are many issues and there are many opinions.
Yeah, Greg, that was a beautiful introduction. Thank you. I couldn't have introduced that better myself, and it was really great to get your perspective, being sort of a Polish person living in the UK and looking at it sort of from an outsider's point of view. But
well, I come from Poland, but this is not really an opinion of Polish people.
Polish people.
We have different opinion. We cannot really accept own opinions, so it will be strange if we will have the same opinion about it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is a Polish mentality.
All right. Not unfortunately, it's just the way it is.
No, actually, this is unfortunately.
Okay.
Because every time, because we have this same Senate before, even in the Middle Ages, so we have kings from the election. And every time when our leader, so we don't really have a king, we have a lot of people who try to control the king. Later we have leaders who always they argue. We see on our borders enemy, other country, army of other country.
Greg, I'm not laughing at your country. I just think it's so funny the way you describe it.
No, I understand. I tried to describe it in this way.
Yeah, it's beautifully described. Thank you. All right. Let's get somebody else's perspective. I'll just say hello to Alejandro. Welcome, Alejandro.
Hello, teacher.
Nice to see you. How are you?
I'm fine.
Excellent. Alejandro, we're just discussing Scotland today.
Okay.
So we've just heard from Greg, and he's living in Hull in the UK, so he's given us a bit of an introduction about his perspective on what the issues were and why it turned out how it turned out. So it was very valuable. I made a couple of notes there in the chat box. I'm now going to ask Amari. Amari, you're all the way over in South America. Did you know anything about what was going on over here? Or I'm not there, but over there?
No, teacher, I don't have any idea.
That's all right. We're going to learn about it in a moment, but I just want to see if anyone else wants to make any comments about their sort of perspective on it from the beginning. Let's see what Raphael has to say.
I believe since Scotland is trying to leave, tried to leave the UK, they are not only satisfied with their government, they are not satisfied with their rules. I think they are trying to expand their horizons or their commercial boundaries, and since I think the result is 56 against 46, I think, or
roughly
54-46, I think. So since we can see about the results, since almost half of people voted for the Scotland leave in UK, since at least almost half of people are not satisfied with the situation. So I think this might change how England rules the UK. How I think they can give more. I think I don't want to say a little more respect for the other countries, the other members of UK, but at least trying to, I don't know, to listen to them more, listen more to them in order to make the decisions, or maybe give more for these countries to establish their commercial liaisons. I think.
Great points, Raphael. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I think is even despite the fact that the result has turned out how it has turned out, it's definitely something that the UK is kind of surprised about at the very least, because I think it surprised not only England but Scotland. I think they were surprised at the strength of their citizens and the number of citizens who participated in the vote and the sort of enthusiasm or patriotism of the young people especially about Scotland having its voice heard a little bit more. So you bring up some really good points, Raphael. We're going to come back to those. Felipe, what did you know about it? Did you know anything?
I don't have any idea about this topic. Probably I'm young, yeah.
Probably you're dumb. No, Felipe, it's just that you weren't aware of it. That's absolutely fine. We're going to learn about it in a minute, okay?
Yeah, For me, it's okay if you want to separate. It's okay. Yeah,
All right. You agree
yeah.
with Scotland leaving?
Yeah, for example, in Spain is the same. People from Catalonia want to separate of Spain. Then, if you feel different than me,
Hmm.
um, I don't know explain. Um, we live in a democratic country. Then, if you if people decide the separation, it's okay.
Hmm.
I don't mind. But I think it's the same. If you feel different than me, why not?
Okay. So, from your perspective as a Spanish person, but also who's I can't remember if it's your father or your mother is from Latin America.
Yeah, yeah. My mother is from Colombia and my father is from Spain. Yeah.
That's right. And you see it as if Catalonia decided that they wanted to leave Spain, that would be okay with you? You think that's part of democracy?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, interesting. Um, it seems, just on my perspective, that I was in Spain last year and I noticed that the issue is around. It's not maybe center stage all the time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
Go ahead.
probably I'm not in agreement with several people. Uh, why they decide the separation now when there is crisis? Why
Mhm.
you don't you don't do manifestation when there were a lot of money? For example, in 28, no, 2008, yeah.
Yeah, or before the financial
Yeah, or
crisis.
before. Why now when there is crisis? Yeah,
That's a very good question, Felipe. To be honest, I don't know. Um, I suppose it's been around in the UK for a couple of years, but it just came to a head, and then it was decided that we'd have to have a referendum. I'm not really sure why it came about. Perhaps it was because of the crisis that Scotland felt maybe they were receiving the worst end of the experience, or not getting as many benefits as other parts of the UK. I'm not too sure about that. Maybe we have to think about that. Good question. Alejandro, have you been listening to us all?
Yes.
All right. What did you
Well,
know about? Go ahead.
I live in Catalonia, and people want the independence.
Mhm.
For me, mm, it's the same pantomime of Scotland, like
Yep.
Scotland,
Mhm.
because capitalism, independence or not, uh, mm, it's going to continue. uh, Independence or not, the law, internal and external, mm, um, it's going to do the government of England. Um, for me, the people, citizen, don't have a voice.
Mhm.
They they are um, management, um, driving. Yes, um, I don't like any state. Mm, all neither independence or not. That is my humble opinion. Sorry for my vocabulary.
No problem, Alejandro. I don't know. I was just listening very carefully because the connection's not perfect today. So a couple of things that you said I didn't quite catch, but I got the overall opinion, I think. So you are from Catalonia, and you were saying really that it's a similar situation to Scotland, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, but from your personal viewpoint, I wasn't clear about it. Would you prefer that Catalonia be independent, or would you prefer they stay part of Spain?
I would like to be in a country without bunkers, without without police, without
Consumers?
consumers, independence or not, that things is the same.
All right, so it doesn't actually make any difference to you, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, thanks, guys, for sharing your opinion. We're going to enlighten Amari and Felipe a little bit more as to the issues at stake. So I'm giving you a web address. If you click on that, I'm going to do a screen share. We're just going to read a little bit of an overview of some of the stuff that's happened and a little bit of a history, because some of you may not know, and it's kind of a little bit based on the UK. So we've got Scotland decides to stay with the UK, and we've got a bit of information about it. So we're going to read this, and then we'll have a discussion. And I'm going to ask Amari if you can read from last week for us, please.
Yes, of course. Last week was a big week for Britain. On 8th September, the people of Scotland, one of the four countries that make up the United Kingdom of Great Britain, and Northern Ireland voted in a referendum that asked, should Scotland be an independent country? The four parts UK, England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland has been in existence for more than 300 years. So, if Scotland had decided to leave, it would have been a very big deal.
Thanks, Amari. Great reading. Well done. Felipe, could you continue with a few facts for us, please?
A few facts. Usually the UK voting age is 18, but in this special case, those aged 16 and 17 were also eligible to vote, right up until the day of voting. There was no clear majority, so it was a tense moment for the UK. In the end, the no votes total 2 million.
Yep.
Oh,
This is a tricky one, Felipe. See if you have a go.
It's so difficult for me.
2 million is correct. You just need the next part.
2 million, 1,000.
Yep.
926.
Correct.
To 1,051.
617,000.
Sorry, teacher, can you repeat, please?
Yeah, so this is the thousands position. So anything in here, you just read it out and then you add thousands. So 617,000.
Okay. 600. No, sorry. 617,000, yeah?
Correct. And then 989.
989 yes votes. But yes won the majority in a few key places such as Glasgow and Dundee. even though Scotland has decided to stay with the UK. The UK government has agreed to give Scotland more power.
Great. Thanks, guys. All right, we'll pause for a moment. Does everybody understand everything that we just read there? Any questions about vocab or meaning?
No, for me it's okay.
All right, excellent. Nothing too complicated. I just want to talk about a couple of the things here. First of all, I think it was interesting that what was decided was that those people who are age 16 and 17 should have a say. They were old enough to understand what was going on and to basically be part of the referendum. Even though the voting age usually for any kind of political event in the UK is 18. So what do you guys think of the fact that 16 and 17-year-olds were eligible to vote?
Sorry, teacher. I have a question.
Sure.
Everybody in UK votes?
Good question. No.
The referendum, only Scotland people.
Only
Scottish people, sorry.
Yeah, only people who are currently living in Scotland.
Okay. Thank you.
So not the whole country. Good question. Very good question. All right. So back to this thing about age. What do you guys think about 16 and 17-year-olds being able to vote? Is it good? Bad?
I think it's not good because the teenagers, or I don't know, the adolescents, I don't know how can I say, it's not able to vote about this politician or something like that. Because their opinions, it's very confusing. My opinion. How can I say? For example, if I have a son like 16, I think they will be think about the soccer, about play something or another topics than politics, I think.
All right, good point, Amari. I have to say that did cross my mind too.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, okay. I don't know it is true, it is a fact of science, but I remember that someone told me that in the year when someone is 15, actually that is starting to have a general point of view, not on, about politics, sometimes general point of view that actually these young people, because in most cases they don't have a right to vote in their own countries, but this is for many of them this is a really fresh start because they start to think about some issues in own country, and they can notice many problems, many solutions, and in the case about such important referendum, I think it was the right decision to let them vote, but I keep in mind that if we think about the young people, they are usually radical, and I'm saying radical sometimes in the left direction or right direction. There will be no center wing or center left wing or center right wing. There will be more what I see in the opinions of the young people, because the opinions it is actually beginning of shape. So what I notice when we have a chance to hear opinion of young people, sometimes we can hear opinion from that we can categorize like the far right wing or the far left wing. So yeah, keep in mind they have own opinions. It's just not really, it's not really actually shaped in the correct way, because they try to learn things and they try to judge what they see.
All right, great. Thanks, Greg. Thanks for both of you. Two kind of opposing opinions there. So Amari says that if you're 16 and 17, really you're not, you don't have enough knowledge about politics. Even if you have an opinion, perhaps you don't really know enough about it to make a proper decision. and you don't probably care enough about it, because maybe you're thinking of, football or boyfriends and girlfriends and stuff like that. Greg does point out that scientifically, somewhere it says that once you're about 15, you are old enough to start sort of forming general opinions. Therefore, it was good that 16 and 17-year-olds were able to vote. Two very interesting points of view. Let's ask the others. Felipe, Rafael, Alejandro, what do you guys
Yes, it's a comedy.
think? Expand, please, Alejandro.
A boy, a 16 years old boy,
Yep.
uh, um, don't has,
Doesn't have. Doesn't have.
doesn't have the elements to think and they they are completely
Maybe immature, Alejandro? Too immature?
sorry,
Just suggesting a word for you. Maybe you mean immature.
immature. No,
No? Okay. Please continue.
immature. No. The politics only tell lies.
Okay.
The history, it isn't true
Yeah.
because mm, have been manipulated.
Okay. Have been manipulated.
And the people, the Scotland people, didn't sorry.
No, you're doing great. Keep going, Alejandro.
I can't continue.
So the Scottish people.
I have many difficulties to explain, but there are some people, some countries like Scotland or Basque country here in Spain that they have resisted to the imperialism, to the they have a great history, but young people forgot. Have forgotten, and they now thinking like the government want.
Okay, very well described, Alejandro. I totally know what you're saying. So the history is not really understood or not remembered or not maybe even known by the young people, and the government therefore have more power over them.
Yes. Okay. Yes,
all right, good point. Thank you for sharing that with us. Well done. It was tough, but you totally made it through. Well done. Okay, Rafael or Felipe, would either of you like to comment?
About the teenagers?
Yeah, about maybe what Alejandro just said, or what you feel about younger people being eligible to vote.
I don't know. On the one hand, I think teenagers or people are 16 or 17 years old. they don't have enough maturity, then I think it's so difficult they can vote. But on the other hand, I think they will be the future in this case in a new country. Then they should they they will be able to sorry, they should be able to vote.
Okay.
I don't know.
No, that's great. Great points. Raphael, what do you feel about it?
Well, I partially disagree of you guys. I think people from 16 or 17 years old might, I think they really can have the maturity enough to choose what is best for the country, what is best for their future. Due to the fact maturity is not totally linked with the age. I know several people who I know have 30 years or 40 years and they don't have a lack of maturity. But it all depends on the education and their education level. I think the UK has a good education level. I think their parents could show them good values in order to teach them make the right decisions for what is best for the country, what is best for the future. So I believe that they can I think they are totally able to make at least most of them are totally able to do the right choice for the future. I think.
All right. Thanks, Raphael. Okay, let's continue reading a little bit more. I'm going to get Greg. Could you read a bit of background for us, please?
Yes, a bit of background. Scotland and England joined hands in 1707. I don't know how to read it.
1707.
1707, becoming Great Britain. Following this union, Great Britain grew to eventually rule the largest empire in history. Ireland joined via an act of union in the 18th century.
In 1800.
1900, and the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland was born in 1921. Ireland became a free state, and the following day, Northern Ireland seceded from the Irish Free State and became a part of the UK once more. Then, in 1927, the UK changed its formal title to the title we still use today, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, aka Britain, the UK.
Thanks, Greg. Alejandro,
I have a question,
you read?
teacher.
Okay, sure.
What is I don't know. I don't know.
Seceded. If you scroll down to
Seceded.
the bottom of the page, any of these words in blue are defined for you. So basically, seceded is a very specific word that means that somebody withdrew formally from membership of, in this case, a political union. It can also be like a religious organization, basically someone quitting, right? But in a very formal way.
Okay, thank you, teacher.
No worries. So we're just going to read the next paragraph. Alejandro, could you read, please, for us? After the First World War.
After the First World War, nationalism in parts of the empire, such as India and Egypt, strengthened. In the Second World War, Britain fought alongside its allied powers, the Soviet Union and the United States, against Germany, Italy, and Japan. The cost of this war was very high, and afterwards, Britain had neither the resources nor the inclination to maintain the British Empire. Independence was then granted to most of the remaining parts of the empire, although 14 former British colonies chose to continue to be ruled by London. Hong Kong was still part of Britain until 1997, when it was handed back to China. Also, in 1997, Northern Ireland, Wales, and Scotland came at the Dwarf Assembly, giving them more power over their own territories within the UK.
Thanks, Alejandro. Great reading. All right, any questions about that part, guys? It's just a bit of history about how the UK actually was formed and how the countries that are part of it today joined or left. Does everyone follow all of that?
Amy, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Being a member of the UK, a country has to submit his decisions to the British Prime Minister. How does it work? I don't know exactly how this works.
Sorry, Raphael, I didn't quite hear that. Could you speak up a tiny bit?
As a member of UK, the country must be his orders must have his orders submitted to by approval of the Parliament. In order to...
Good question. Yeah, I'm not entirely familiar with the exact process. However, I believe that because due to the nature of the geography, firstly, that the landmass which contains Scotland, England, and Wales is small and very, very connected. We have borders with each other. We're closely connected in that way. And so I think that it just we'll read the next paragraph in a moment, but in the history of these three countries which have sort of changed and fought and argued for many, many, many years, it was sort of decided it would be better if we worked together rather than continue fighting. And the Parliament, I guess, was in London simply because I'm not really sure. But the power has changed a lot over time. So Scotland for a long time had its own king and queen, and there was a kind of rough relationship, but then we connected and shared a monarchy. So we've had a lot of intertwined history. And to be honest, the issue of like leaving or joining is, I suppose, that we just had the referendum to discuss that, because the countries have the freedom to not be part of it any longer if they don't want to. But when you look at it as sort of a big picture, I suppose it just makes more sense, really. So I guess maybe that's why this happened. Maybe people voted to stay with the UK. I'm not sure. I was going to ask you guys a following question after we read that. Do you think the history, as Alejandro was mentioning, like young people maybe don't really know about the history? And I must admit that I learnt quite a bit when I was sort of researching and discussing this topic, and I'm relatively young. Do you think history makes a difference in this kind of situation, or do you think it's irrelevant? Is it more about the future?
I think that every country try to, look back on the mistakes, because sometimes patterns are the same.
Mm-hmm.
In the history of Poland, always the same. We were attacked by German and Russian tribes in 1,000 years ago, and the same pact is more before World War II, and even now they have own business. I believe that the history help us to define some ways how some nation works, because I just don't want to hide. If you look at the map of every continent, you will see there are some nations that some countries don't trust. Or maybe they are friends, or maybe they are completely neutral. And so if you look at the history, we can see the same behavior of the same country, because probably from geopolitical, I'm not sure. From the place where the country, if the border are not changed, usually they want to cooperate with each other, or they force it to cooperate with each other against other country. In many ways, I'm not thinking about the wars. I'm thinking, for example, about the business. And history sometimes help to notice this kind of similarities.
All right, very good point, Greg. I think you bring up an excellent point there. It's not just about war, it's also about business, economics. The way that a country reacts to different things is probably repeated over history and also probably does have a lot to do with its geography.
Yes.
Uh-huh. All right, does anybody else want to add anything to what Greg just said?
Yes. You mentioned future, you mentioned past, you mentioned history. I think it's one of the. I think history was one of the even was one of their slogans of no campaign.
Mm-hmm.
They told us if whether the whether the yes, or I mean the Scotland leaves the UK, they simply don't know what will happen next. Maybe something change could happen in the future in economy and in social, maybe some war or something like that. It's I think since the beginning, mankind was always afraid of don't know. Uh, we don't know. We're afraid of not knowing. How can I say use that? What will happen next?
Yep.
So people are afraid of maybe splitting of the UK could be could have been a good thing for them, but since they are afraid of what would happen, they choose another way.
Okay.
So I think history in this case is just for maybe cause some kind of to cause some kind of fear, just to make people's mind, in my opinion.
All right. Thanks, Rafael, for sharing that. Felipe or Alejandro, do you guys want to comment on that question? Do you think history is important? Do you think the future is important in this kind of decision?
The future, it's important. Nobody knows what will happen in the future, but the people will not have liberty. The power of the state
Mm-hmm.
will be mm, will be more and more, and the people
Increase.
increase, and the power of bankers will be increased.
Mm-hmm.
They will do the law.
Yep, they will make the law.
They will make the law, and we will have to live. Sorry.
So why Alejandro is speaking really well. Okay, that's all. Okay, fair enough. All right, Felipe, let's hear from you. What do you think? Is history important in making these kind of decisions, or is the future important, or maybe both? Oh, that was too hard for Felipe. He's disappeared. All right, gonna read the rest of this, guys. Raphael, could you read a rickety relationship for us, please?
A rickety relationship. As citizens of the UK, BLAB is proud to be part of a country that has four parts working together. But it certainly doesn't mean that our four parts have always got along. Scotland and England have had many ups and downs in their relationship. Check out the story of Scotland's William Wallace in the Hollywood blockbuster Braveheart. Or read about Queen Elizabeth I executing her cousin Mary, Queen of Scots, in 1587. The union that began in 1707 wasn't so much about us becoming BFFs as it was about Scotland needing economic help and England getting fed up with its rogue neighbor. However, as the British Empire took off after the Union, Scotland and England began to create more of a shared identity, and now, in 2014, after so much shared history, it's hard to imagine being separate.
Keep going just for the quote, please, Raphael.
As Tim Stanley, Associate Fellow of the Rothermere American Institute, Oxford University, put it, England and Scotland have always been like jealous brothers, full of boiling resentment and given to violent fights. Yet we are and always will be family.
Thanks, Raphael. All right, you guys feel free to read the rest of the article yourselves. I'd like to ask now about your own countries and this idea of being like a family. Do you guys have that sense in your own countries, within your own countries, different territories, or perhaps with other neighboring countries? Or does your country feel very much on its own? What would you say? Let's ask Greg. What do you think about Poland, Greg?
Well, I think, well, there's one part that is more or less similar to what you see in Scotland, but I think it has something to do that was a part of different countries for hundreds of years. So the problem is always the same. Nation is the language, is the culture, and it's not really about the color scheme. It's language, culture, history, and couple of other things. So, in the case of my country, I think there are some people who make embarrassing actions, sending the letters to leaders of other country. But I think the rest of the country, I think 90% of the country is, there's actually one country, one part, one opinion. Not always agree with some cases, but we have this feeling that we stick to the culture, we stick to the language in most cases, and we have different point of view about history. There is not too much cooperation because we have many, but it is quite important because it wasn't easy to be independent country.
Mm-hmm. All right, thanks, Greg. Raphael, do you want to talk about Brazil for a couple of seconds? We have to finish soon. But do you feel like a family in Brazil, would you say, or are you slightly divided sometimes?
Not as a family. There is a sense of respect between everyone, but just as a common sense. I don't know, perhaps it was because we haven't had a reason yet to reunite together toward the same cause. I remember when there was a 9/11 attacks in New York, the whole American people, they joined together towards the same cause, as a family, helping each other. I think Brazilians are very easygoing, but I don't think we consider ourselves a family, Maybe it's not part of our culture.
All right, great. Thanks, guys, for some really, really great comments today. and some excellent English. And thanks for bringing up those great vocab words. Check out the chat box before you go. Take care, guys. If you want to do some reading practice and talk about being nice on the net, join me for my next class. Other than that, I hope to see you soon. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.